Welcome to the Men's Collective podcast. In this space, we keep the conversations real, inspiring, and challenging you to become the man you are destined to be. Your family needs you to be better. Your friends need you to be better. We need you to be better. We are your hosts, the Average Joes. Gentlemen, welcome to the Men's Collective podcast. We are the Average Joes. Gentlemen, so good to have you back. Mikey, Miguel, Jamie.
Good to be here, lads. How we doing?
Good to finish the week. It's always a good, we always say that, don't we? Always a good way to finish the week.
It is.
It seems to be just chilled out and we just can relax and just concentrate on what we're talking about.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, loving it, mate. Good to have you back too, Miguel. Been a few weeks since you've been here.
Has been, mate. Been in WA for a couple of weeks. Catch up with some new clients, some old clients.
The wrong side of Australia.
Well, you know what? I did miss the sunny coast, to be fair.
Is that still Australia?
I don't know. Surely WA is not classed as Australia anymore, is it?
Don't know, mate. That would be up for debate. Maybe
seem to do
that could
their
be
own
the
thing.
topic for today.
Where is WA? Who is WA? Jamie, good to have you back, bud.
Thanks, mate.
Excellent.
I like WA.
I still never done it.
It's nice when it's
Going
not
to get some hate
when
mail
it's
now.
not blowing and it's not raining.
What's that, sorry?
It's good when it's not blowing and it's not raining.
Yeah, right. Okay. I've never been. I've heard so much about it, but it sounds good. But anyway, good to have you back for there, buddy.
So a bit of trivia. The trees around Gelton and Greenock, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. There's a couple of lookouts there near Walkaway, or as you're coming in from Walkaway. The trees, gum trees, literally grow like that, just from the wind coming across the paddocks.
Really?
Yeah, they grow probably about that high and then just lean over. So you've got gum trees that are yay thick, literally shaped like that, go with the wind.
Yeah, wow.
There's a topic in that, isn't there?
Oh, my brain's going
Quick, write it
wild
down.
right now. I'm taking notes. Well, speaking of topics, we do have a topic for today that I want to get right into. I'm sure it's important to all of us men, and it's about work-life balance, finding that perfect balance, if there is one, and we'll talk about it today. So, gentlemen, I want you to quickly just imagine with me for a minute that you're juggling three balls. One's labelled work, the other's labelled family, and the other is labelled yourself. Now, let's just say these three balls aren't all the same. The work ball is perfectly round, sized perfectly to the shape of your hand, made of rubber, so when you drop it, it'll bounce back. But the other two, family and self, think of them as being oddly shaped, awkwardly large in size, and made of glass. If you drop them, and at some stage you will, chances are they'll crack, shatter, or be damaged in ways that can be difficult to repair and is sometimes unrepairable. Now, the work ball is resilient. It's flexible, can always be picked up after you drop it, but not so regarding families and ourselves. Yet, in the rush of daily life, we often treat all three balls as if they all are the same, requiring the same attention, same amount of time and effort, often giving work that little bit more attention sometimes because we think it's the one that matters most, since traditionally we are the breadwinners and providers. So today I want to challenge that perspective. As men, we often pride ourselves on our ability to be able to handle everything, but at what cost? So, gents, have you ever found yourself excelling at work but feeling disconnected from your loved ones? What impact has that had? When was the last time you've prioritised your own well-being, physical, mental, emotional? If you could reshape your daily routine to create a healthier balance, what changes would you make, and what fears or challenges are holding you back from making those changes? These questions and more I want to address today as we search for what we're calling the perfect work-life balance. Miguel, I'll start with you. Simple question first. Is there a perfect work-life balance? Yes or no? And then we'll come back to you, mate.
No.
That was very simple.
No.
There isn't one. Mikey, is there a perfect work-life balance?
Mate, if you can find it, I'd love to have a copy, please.
Jamie, is there a perfect work-life balance?
No. I think, well, it all depends on the circumstances, but I'm sure we're going to get into it.
Well, I'm going to say no as well. And first off the bat, for all four of us to say that there isn't one must be comforting for all of us to hear us all say it, but also a lot of our listeners, because it's one of those questions I think we all strive for it to be that there is one. But I think it must be comforting to all hear that we're all said no, because I haven't found a perfect balance. I'm sure a lot of you haven't. Miguel, come back to you. Why?
Mate, we can put so many strategies in place of what's going to be the perfect work-life balance. You know, so from this time to that time, I'm going to work, and from that time to that time, I'm going to fill my cup up, and from this time to this time, it's for my kids or my wife, right? Every day of the week, something changes, something happens. You get that call, meetings overrun, unanticipated variables come into your life, whether it's a sick kid or a kid's being the class clown, you've got to go and pick them up from school, just sometimes a regular occurrence with my middle child. Don't know where he learnt all that from, but anyway. I think you can put a lot of pressure on yourself by having that. Like a strategy is a strategy, right? It's the same as a business plan. All green lights. Here's a business plan. This is how it's going to work. What happens when the green lights turn red? Sorry. And how do you combat that? How do you move through that? I think you also got to be forgiving of yourself when you start that strategy, because you can put so much pressure on yourself and then it all compounds mentally. And if you don't know how to control that, it can implode pretty badly in every part of your life, your work, family, and yourself feel the pain. I always put myself last when it comes to mental, physical, spiritual, sexual, whatever the healing is, or whatever I want to fill my glass up. The family, the work one, like, work. People say family come first, but if funds aren't in the bank, how can family come first? Right, you got to provide. You got to put a roof over their heads. You got to pay mortgages, rent, whatever it is, food, the whole kit and caboodle. I don't think there is any perfect solution to it. I think you've just got to be very aware. Like I was really bad there for some time. I'll just grab this last call, and that last call will trigger other things that you've thought about through the week, and other guys you think, shit, I'll just ring that other bloke back now, and I'll ring this other dude back, and we'll get this thing going. Especially some of the stuff that we're doing with WA at the moment, because they're 2 hours behind us. I'll take advantage of that the best I can. So when our 5 o'clock in Queensland is finished, it's 3 o'clock in WA. I'm like, you beauty. I can still keep punching on till 7. My kids have come in the house by then, gone past my office, said, "G'day, Dad, can I show you this, Dad?" Especially the 9-year-old. Just want bit of your time, kick a footy, watch this trick on the tramp. I'll be there in 5. Never get there.
I think we've all been at that point, eh?
Or in the morning, I'm just going to check this one email. Or I'm just going to turn the phone on. Like one thing I do now consciously is turn my phone off at night time. And do not turn it back on. No matter how much my chimp brain's like, just check it. Nah, don't do it. Because otherwise, you get it, right?
I actually did that with my phone. 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, no more messages, no nothing.
Yep.
The only thing I'm missing out is Wayne's 2 a.m., silly memes and whatnot that comes through. So it's had a negative effect on my life.
Because socials are so around us all the time, we're looking for that instant gratification. You see it in kids and the younger generation now. They want it now because it's screened, it's live, it's here, right? So someone sends you a text, you want to action it now too. But I think to have that turn off and to have that genuine, real, present connection with your family, or even for yourself, you have to disconnect, man. You've just got to stop it. Like I know for myself, so many times I've gone, I'm just going to check this one email, fire up the computer in the morning. It's like 5:30, 6 a.m. And it's shit I don't even need to be focusing on for that day. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm going to strategise on this, and this to get this sorted. Before I know it, I look down, it's 10 a.m. Everyone's gone to school. Wife's gone to work. Well, where did that time go?
Yep. And considering time is your most valuable asset.
It's the only unrenewable asset.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yep. Well, there's seasons for that, though, isn't it? There's seasons where you've got to bury yourself in work to get ahead. I think what none of us actually do is set a time limit on that. We never turn around and go, right, I'm going to give this my everything for a month, 2 months. Then I'm going to assess it and walk away if I need to. We just keep plugging away
Well, you're right, though, because the hardest time to get something started is at the start.
Yep.
Like if you're pushing a car, like when it's stationary, that's where it takes the most effort to get it up and rolling. But once it starts going, and that's why I don't think there is a perfect work-life balance, because it all depends on what you're focused on at that point. Like you were saying, Miguel, is that, if the kid's got to eat and the mortgage has got to be paid, then that is you as a man or as the man of the family providing for your family. So that is part of the, I guess, solution from that. So, yeah, I think it's where your priorities lie at that particular moment, but don't get obsessed with that because you've got a little bit of success. Actually go, okay, we're at a stage now where I could take my foot off the pedal a little bit or delegate something or do something else. So now I can make up for the time that I've missed out on the family. Do you know what I mean? Because I would much rather quality time and actually doing something and actually something where memories can be made rather than sitting on the couch together over the quantity of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I'd rather actually take the kids somewhere and like today was our actual 3. I love the Facebook memories go because I'm horrible with timelines. And I was like, oh, Kobe, today it was 3 years since we went to Yeppoon and we went to the pirate ship and we went over to Great Keppel Island. We went and did this and we went and did that. So stuff like that, I think, is actually much better than actually coming home and sitting on the couch every day. So,
if I can add to that, Jamie, I remember I got so excited when I figured out that there was reception up at Double Island Point. So my thing was, I'll take my laptop, I'll take the dinghy for the boys. The boys jump in the dinghy and cruise around the lagoon, going fishing and trawling or whatever. And my wife and my daughter could sit in the shade reading a book, whatever, And I was happy because I was still working. So I thought it was a perfect work-life balance. Far from it. I was still working.
Yeah.
So whilst I was there, I was the one driving the car, set the boat up, set the shade up, do the barbecue. I still wasn't there. I was 100% engaged in business. There's even times like of more recently, my wife and I have spoken about potentially taking 2 cars when we travel to Brisbane. I'm like, what's the point? It's a waste of fuel, waste of money. We're going there, we just take 1 car. She's like, yeah, but the kids can't really enjoy it because the whole way there, you're on back-to-back calls. Everyone's got to be quiet. I never thought of it like that. And I'm like, why can't I just, for that 2-hour trip or hour and 45-minute trip, turn the phone off? Like literally turn my phone off. And why can't we just sing songs the whole way or play I Spy, whatever the kids want to do, Because just you're wide and you're in that moment, I suppose, and whenever I'm driving, it's back-to-back calls, making best use of your time, not just driving down the road, wasting the time, I suppose. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, it is situational too, isn't it? Because we've only got a certain period of time to influence our kids. So yes, if the money's needed, it's there. But also, by the time your kids turn like 13, 14, 15, now this is where that period of time where their peers are going to influence them a lot more. And you have to set them up properly.
Yeah.
So if we're giving away that time by actually being distracted by everything else, then, so because although it was an excuse when I took my sort of like chill out time, but I knew my son was going through a tough time during that period. And that's why I didn't mind actually just being at home, being there, having that opportunity to be able to actually spend more time with him and not take on a heap of more clients or not actually, go hell for leather sort of thing. Now he's in high school then, well, okay, it's time to get back to the grind now. So, yeah, I think if you can prioritize what's going to be best for you, then, that's really the best work-life balance you can have. Because if you're putting 20% here, 20% here, 20% here, 20% here, you're most likely not going to get the best results anyway. Do you know what I mean? So even with health and wellness and stuff, like if you're only going to the gym once or twice a week, it takes a concerted effort to make that difference. You need the gym, you need the food, you need that discipline and you need the consistency. So, and then once you're up there, it's easier to keep that rolling.
I suppose for the list, sorry, Wayne, for the listeners out there too, one thing that we can all sit here and say honestly, and any businesswoman or man out there in the world, we are going to miss opportunities every day of our lives. Period. If you can't turn that phone off for the 2 hours on the drive from the sunny coast to Brisbane because you're going to miss an opportunity, I don't think you should be in business, really. If that one phone call is detrimental to your survival, what's the point, really? Why are you living on edge?
It is interesting you said that because when you were saying it, I'm guessing this is not just you and I. This might be similar with the other 2 guys here, but also similar with a lot of the guys listening. But it's never been brought up in regards to taking 2 cars. But when we do get in the car for a drive, Lisa will always say to me, "You get in the passenger seat, I'll drive." I'm like, "Why? I'm very
you're on your phone.
I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah.
capable enough of driving."
Yep.
She go, "No, you're on the phone the whole time."
Yep.
And it's those little remarks that have made me go, because I think of it 2 ways. I'm sure we all think of this because, again, we are men and we're built to be the providers. Our bodies are built to be the worker. Like, I get that, right? But when I hear her say that, it does niggle at me a bit because I'm like, but I'm doing this. Like, these phone calls, these are business phone calls. I'm doing this for you. right? But when we think that, we in our heads think that we're providing the things that they actually want, but really what they want is us.
Is you, yeah. Just that one-on-one
Yeah.
time. Yep.
But it does then make you say, well, then what do you do? Do you let go of everything? Because I've had this, I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had this conversation with their partner, but I've had this conversation with Lisa in the past where I go, okay, I get it. So what do I just let the business go? How about I just close the business and do what, right? And I'll tell you a story. Just yesterday, I went and did a job for this guy. And I was telling Mikey about it because Mikey's been to the same address.
That sounded a little bit like, I'm taking my bat and I'm going home.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you this story, and chances are he's actually going to listen to this podcast because we got talking about that I do podcasts, and he found us and started listening. So he may listen to this. So if you are listening, mate, you're a legend. But I will tell you this story that he said to me.
Please don't give me a bad review.
Please make sure it's 5 stars still, half star. No, but the reason I'm going to tell you the story is because I've been thinking about it ever since. Right now, I've been in business. You guys know I'm a plumber. I started my apprenticeship at 19. Started my business at 22. 23. When I started the business, I made it a promise right from the start that I would still do everything I can in my power to not miss something that the kids are doing. An event at school, going to the doctor, anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that my value system when it came to time with the kids was always there, right? And I did pretty well at it. I made sure all my traveling, I used to, work in the city, but I'd drive back. I'd do all those things because I wanted to be there. Now, I was talking to this guy yesterday, and you could see when he answered the door that he was just beat. Like he's had a life that's just, he's probably got 1,000 stories, right? And I could see that it was beat. So I started getting to talk to him, try to break that down, have a bit of a chat. Anyway, he has gone through a hell of a lot, lost his business, lost his wife. He's lost contact with his daughter, and the only contact he has now with any family member is his son, and they live together, father and son. Now, this guy's about 60 probably, and his son, I think, was 28 or whatever anyway. And he was saying during the GFC in 2008 is when his whole business went under. And because of the breakdown of the business, then it cost him his marriage, cost him so much, and his mental health went crazy. It cost him. He is surprised that he's physically alive because it's cost him everything. And he just feels that, he actually said yesterday, he's waiting for the day where he doesn't wake up. That's what he's waiting for. And I'm like, mate,
That's horrible.
every single day that you do wake up means there's a reason you're still here. So take upon, there's a purpose and there's a reason why you still wake up. So take advantage of it, But I got talking to him deeper and deeper, and he goes, yeah, but I look back now and I did everything to be the provider. I built a business. I was well known. He goes, I could walk into the bank managers knew who I was because I built this business, and borrowing power was crazy. I was treated like royalty. I had cars and machinery and all this kind of stuff. And then he said when the GFC hit, it wiped me. And it got me to the point where I look back now and I go, I lost my house and had, I think, 2 other investment properties. I lost my house, I lost my investment properties, I lost my wife, I lost my daughter, and I've just got my son and I left. And he goes, if I go back now and I reevaluate what's worth more, he said, I misbalanced how I was working and how I was doing family because I was convincing myself that I was doing it for my family, but what my family were wanting was me. He goes, but I was putting so much time into work. He goes, if I could go back, it's going to sound bad, but hear me out. He goes, if I could go back, he said, I would spend the first 10 to 12 years of my kids' lives on the dole. And all I would do is be a full-time dad. And he goes, but I put so much into work and I could never get the balance right. And he goes, I was either coming home and arguing with my wife, going back to work, arguing with the guys. And he goes, I never got the balance right. And he goes, and now I sit here 60, broke. I have nothing left and I have contact with one person. And he goes, I couldn't get the balance right. He goes, I thought I was doing the right, going back to the analogy I used at the start about the juggling. You drop the work ball, not a problem. Us as men, it bounces. We get back up, we keep going. We can drop that ball. It's resilient. We can keep moving forward. You drop the family ball or you drop your self ball, one, they're harder to carry already. Work's easy for men. It's an easy ball to carry, right? Shaped to our hand. It's comfortable. It's easy. And like I said, it's resilient. It bounces. Not a problem. We can rebound with the work ball. But juggling that along with family and yourself and trying to find that perfect balance, the family ball and the self ball, they're oddly shaped. They're made of glass. Like you drop those, there's a ripple effect that can be devastating. The work one, we're men, we can pick it up and get another job or pick up and get another business, doesn't matter. But the family and you, when you drop that, the repercussions are so much bigger. And I was listening to your story and I go, look, I don't condone, anyone going, oh, well, first 15 years I'm just going to, sit on the dole. But what it did make me think is how important those years are to get the balance right. Because I'm in the same position as you, Miguel. Like I couldn't even I can't drive to Brisbane without Lisa saying to me, I'll drive because you're going to be on the phone. And it's those little remarks where I go, my head's telling me, but I'm doing this is a good thing. But what they're wanting is just that hour and a half, 2 hours of just the phone on silent and singing the song with the kids and things like that. It's hard. It's hard to take as a man.
I've got friends of ours up in the NT. They got 2 boys, really good people. So they were obviously husband and wife to start with, and had a business when they were younger in their life. Still got the same business now. Excuse me. At that point, it was just them, so it was fine, right? And then the 2 boys come along. So then their life revolves dramatically around the 2 boys. And then it got to a point in their life where the boys were older, and they were going out with their mates and driver's licenses and girlfriends, and then moved out of home. Mate, they fell in a big rut. What do we do now? And they just did not know how to communicate with the 2 of them and not having the boys there because, mate, 24/7, 365, it was about those 2 boys. So it took them a good couple of years to go through that process and find themselves again. Like it's us again, what are we going to do for the next stage of our lives,
Well, there's a balance in that way as well, isn't
100%, man. 100%.
Can I offer a different concept rather than the balls? Yeah. So stop looking at me like that.
I kept that so clean then too.
All right. So we say work-life balance, and what happens in my head is the seesaw effect. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I see it as like you got your triangle, and then you've got the plank on top, and then you're balancing between the two, between money or work or whatever, and family on the other side. And that's sort of the concept that I
General, yeah.
we're looking at when I think about that stuff. This is why I think that putting yourself first or working on yourself first is the most important thing.
It's paramount, yeah.
Yeah. Because rather than you having that triangle down the bottom, the stronger that foundation is, which is I see that as me, like I'm balancing those things. Yeah. So if I can turn that triangle into a square, yeah, well, that means that both sides of that equation can handle more. And if I turn that into a rectangle with a bigger base, both sides of that equation can handle more. So that's why I think, and when you said about the ball for yourself being so, like being fragile or whatever, it shouldn't be. You should be resilient.
Yep.
You should have the grit. You should have the determination. You've got so many people that are relying on you, looking up on you. Like, that's why I'm like, men should be proud about all the things that they've achieved and not feel like second-class citizens because they have done a lot, And so you are resilient. And yes, you can have issues or you can have people walk away from you. You can do that sort of stuff. But if you know who you are and you've worked really hard on yourself and you've gained yourself skill sets, you've given yourself a good group of mates, you've got integrity, like all the things we talk on the podcast and at the Average Joes and all that sort of stuff, you work on yourself. I really think that's more, that enables you to handle more. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. I think when I look at that analogy, I agree with you, right? I guess my only question is, if you drop the work ball, it is easy to pick up and keep going with it. But if you drop yourself because you haven't looked after yourself, that's the men I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Guys, that if you're not looking after yourself and you drop yourself, you've dropped yourself mentally, you've dropped yourself psychologically, spiritually. That's a lot harder to rebuild than going to get another job to try and rebuild yourself.
100%.
But I totally agree with you. Like if you are strong and you can balance, well, you know what, this actually ties in perfectly to what we're saying here. One of the ways on finding and creating the perfect balance is to work on yourself, to become the resilient like the work ball. So then how do you, or if you can you make the family ball resilient as well? Is it a matter of working alongside your partner and having like clear boundaries, clear set out goals, clear set out a structure that says, hey, this is what we do? Like, is it? I was just thinking before when I was putting this together. When you're trying to build as a man, right, and you're trying to find and create that perfect balance, does it come down to a dollar figure or a certain amount of hours that you work for the week to try and get the balance? Because we're all striving for, we want to be successful in our businesses. We all run businesses here, right? We all want to be successful in our businesses, and we want our families to have the best of what we can create. We want to invest correctly. We want to build, we want to provide a certain way. In doing so is where we find the misbalance, right? Because, it stretches more hours out of us. It creates more phone calls. I think the most phone calls I took in a day was 197. That's my record. It was about probably 6 or so years ago. 197 phone calls in one day.
Lots of those were 1-800s though, weren't they?
It's a lot of talking on the phone, right? And actually, ever since then, I started to go, I hold the phone on speaker now because I just can't even picture having the phone against my head.
So you do that so you can still be active doing other things?
Okay, you're exactly right. So now I'm more productive again, or I can't even pull myself out of work now because I do. I put my phone on speaker and I tuck it under my collar of my shirt,
so you can keep working.
and keep working.
Yep. I think we're all guilty of that. 100%.
So do you think then, when it comes down to, okay, whatever it is that you're striving for, should we as men set a goal, go, right, once I'm earning 100 grand, 120 grand, 150 grand, let's call it 120. Once I'm earning 120 grand a year, I'm going to drop it back and keep it level and be totally happy.
But we don't.
No, I don't. But that's what I'm saying. So is that one of the solutions? Or do we put it down to an hour figure? I'm going to work no more than 50 hours a week.
And same with ours. Like there's people around, right, that are, be careful how I say this, trying to be politically correct.
Say it. Say it.
Do it.
We have an editor, Miguel. You can say whatever you want.
Blow him up. Blow it up.
There's people within my industry that could do 80 hours in a week and won't do what I could do in 5. Simple. So I don't know. I don't think it's the hours. I think it's where you're spending your time. It's where you're spending those hours. So you could spend 100 hours in a week. Like before we went live today, mate, you and I, Jamie, were talking about how have your last 2 weeks been? And we both like, yeah, man, burning a lot of rubber, but not getting a great deal of traction, right? There's still been progress, but not progress that we are used to and that we accept as that was a good week. We've done well there. Where people do that week in, week out. Like you could do 100 hours and still not be effective. So I don't think you put it down to an hour, or so many hours per week. And when it comes to a dollar figure, look, I used to think I had to make tens of millions of dollars to have the desired life that I wanted, right? I wanted to have helicopters and I wanted to be able to take a plane from here with all cousins and uncles and aunts and cruise over to Disney World with all the nieces and nephews. I look at that now and I go, imagine buying that plane, imagine servicing that plane, imagine having those pilots on standby. We're talking millions of dollars a year just to do that, right? And I'm not talking about a 20-seat plane. I'm talking like a jumbo. So it's decked out, pimped out, PlayStations, Xboxes, everything that the kids could want and the parents could have queen-size beds and just kick back and chill. You go and hire that same plane for the sake of 150, 200K opposed to the millions of dollars to own it, right? So when this is obviously an extreme example, but okay, let's say fishing boat. My boys go, Dad, let's get a fishing boat. We've had fishing boats in the past. We've bought them. It's been the flavour of the month. You go out fishing 4 or 5 times, and then the thing sits there catching leaves and dust. We go fishing. A friend of ours whose parents own a local pub on the sunny coast, I ring him up and say, mate, these are the targeted species. These are the days I'm available. If we've got to pull the kids out of school, no dramas, let us know what day we're going. I give him $300. He picks us up at 4:30 in the morning, drops us back in the same spot of my choice. About 12 hours later, it's his boat, it's his fuel, he supplies the drinks, food, the whole kit caboodle. We have never, ever gone out and not caught fish. Every time we've come in, whatever it's cost me, we've made that 3 times in fillets.
Need to get that number.
I can sort of trip out, but I'm being serious, right? So then I've gone home. I don't have to worry about the repayments of a boat. I don't have to worry about cleaning a boat. I don't have to worry about registration of a trailer, registration of a boat, all the other things that go with it, and all these millions that you need to have that successful life or that that life that I seen years ago that I thought I needed to have. So it's like, well, actually, how much money do we need? Not just to survive. Like, who wants to just freaking survive, right? But how much do we need to have a comfortable life, go on journeys, go on holidays, blah, 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 blah. And it's not millions. If you actually work that out. I think the hard part is having 100% alignment with your wife and your children. That is what I have found the hardest. Because we're human beings, our automatic default is the least path of resistance and instant gratification. That's it, period. Especially kids of today, right? Our parents probably say the same when we were kids. So to have a checkmate there that's going to be respected and go, guys, we're getting off track here. We haven't done our family commitments or contributions this week. We need to come back on track. How do you keep that on track while keeping face with your wife and your kids so you're still going for that common denominator? Like, at the end of the year, we're going to go on a trip for 4 weeks to Japan. It's going to cost 40 grand. So throughout the year, we're not doing any takeaway. We're not doing Maccas. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. We're going to give to get. But it's a delayed gratification. It's not instant. We done this. We spoke about this. It's hilarious, man. So we're driving back out of Noosa, and our youngest goes, "Can we get Maccas?" Well, dude, we just spoke 5 minutes ago about giving up Maccas. And you know what he said? It's okay, Dad. We'll start next week. Like, mate, he's human. I get it. We're human, dude. Like, how many times you wake up in the morning? Like, Christine, you guys know that she's an athlete. She's been on stage competing in women's fitness, right? She said to me she's got about a 5-second window from the time she opens her eyes to sabotaging her entire day. If she sits there and listens to herself, she's got 5 seconds before she goes to herself, I'm tired, it's too cold, I'm not prepared, blah, 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 blah. I'll do it tomorrow, snooze button, boom, training's buggered for the week. So, yeah, like, it's probably gone on a bit of a tangent there, Wayno, but I think the biggest thing, mate, is the alignment. Just be a leader. Lead on your own journey. It gets taxing. If you are the only one that's striving for greatness in your family unit and everyone's taking the piss, or everyone else, so you shouldn't say taking the piss, everybody else is happy just to come home and watch Netflix every night of the week and then binge on Saturday and Sunday on Netflix, and they're not aligned with you, that's hard. That's a real hard push, especially if they've all got their, like baby birds on their hands out, I want this, I want this, I want that. Like, there's got to be a genuine common alignment as far as I'm concerned, or that family unit will fall apart.
Yeah.
One thing you said to me, mate, was, and actually you took a lot of weight off my shoulders in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, was the expectations that I had on my wife and my kids. And I'm going, well, hang on a second. Wayne's got a point here. Is this their ambitions? Are these their goals, or are they mine? And am I holding them to a higher standard? Because I want all this stuff, and I'm going to provide this, and I'm going to be successful here. So you should be too. So I just sat them all down and apologised to them all. And it was actually like a light bulb moment. It was a light bulb moment for me, and it was also a light bulb moment for them, because they were like, oh, hang on, there's a double-edged sword here. So if we want all that other stuff, we do have to action. And I've sat them down and said, well, when it comes to a time and I'm going to do succession planning, you guys are stepping into my role. If you're going to cruise around just stock shelves at Woolworths or work at Macca's and you're happy days, man. No stress at all, dude. If you want to go surfing 4 days of the week and work 3, kudos to you, mate. I'm happy, genuinely. If that turns you on and makes you happy, no dramas. But don't think you're stepping into the role of the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company because you don't have the skill set to do it. If I find someone in the street that's got a bit of mongrel about it and just needs an opportunity and they're going to take it to the next level, they're getting the opportunity.
For me, I don't think it's about the hours or about this or about that. I think, thinking back when I was young playing footy, if you went out on the footy field and you gave everything, you played the best that you possibly could have played, even the whole team, if everyone put in and no one let each other down and did the best they can and you lost, it was okay. So I think if you're going out there doing the best you can, you should feel proud about yourself and what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So I think that that effort and what you're doing, and I totally get what you were saying about what you could do in 5 hours compared to other people, because when I went through the divorce and I was worried about not having that time for my son, I dropped my 70-hour weeks down to 25-hour weeks and we started making more money.
Because you had to be focused, right?
I had to be focused, and and all I did was go, all right, this is a problem. How can I solve this? Do I really need to do that, or is there another way for me to do that? Do I actually have to sit and do that talk with those people, or could I actually just video an introduction and give it? Like, there's solutions out there for the stuff that you just have to be open to it. You know what I mean? It's not about how many hours. It's about how productive are you in that role, and not productive as in just making money, but also productive as in giving time to, like, that conversation that you're having with your partner. Is it actually benefiting it, or are you letting your emotions make the situation worse?
Yeah.
Like, do you know?
Yeah, I remember, I'm going to say just something when you said about the footy game, right? And I think this is where a lot of men do, I'm not going to say falter or stuff up, but we do get confused because take the footy game analogy, right? You're going at the footy game, you end up losing, but you've given it everything you've got. I think the confusion sets in when you look at getting a work-life balance. You see men go and they give like everything they possibly can, right? Now, I think the confusion sets in when you look at men that give the best they can or men that are giving the most they can, right? Because giving the best you can and giving the most that you can is where I think the balance gets thrown off, because you see men go out there with work and they're giving the most they can, right? But you look at productivity, and this is, I love what you said about, being productive. You can be super productive, and that's the best thing you can do, compared to you see men going out there and giving the most they can do and it not be productive whatsoever. I had an employee a couple of years back who always walked around with the fastest pace. He would be sweating, he'd be zigzagging here and there, and he was so flustered and he looked like the fastest worker, getting nothing done, nothing at all. And I remember having a chat about him with our staff meeting once, because we let him go and had a chat about him. And I was saying, there's a difference between being busy and being productive, because you talk to guys, oh, how's work, mate? Mate, we are flat stick. Oh, yeah, making money? No. But you can talk to another guy, you guys busy? No, not really. Making money? Yeah, still killing it. Because there's a big difference between being super busy and being productive. And I think one of the keys we as men need to learn when it comes to finding a balance between what works with a family and home life is work on what's productive. Because we seem to go out into the footy field and give as much as we can and still not getting the result, compared to giving the best that we can, which may take half the time, but it's results and the productivity within it. And you look at, and when you say productivity, you talk about the results you see in your family life, could be so much more. And I think that's where the confusion happens. Men go out there and give the most instead of just giving the best.
So for the listeners, what framework? Because there'll be guys out there, and if this was me 10 years, I'll be going like, mate, I need that recipe. What is the framework? If I can give any advice, it's just slow it all down, sit by yourself with yourself, and just start taking notes. Anything that comes to your head, and then go into it. What is it that you can control? What can't you control? And just start eliminating. And then change. Okay, that worked for this week. I need to up it for the next week. And then change and just keep evolving. Would you agree?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you do need to sit down and work out, what are the things that you can control? And if you can control it and make change from it and it's productive, work on those things. If you can't control it, don't put time and energy into it. And I think this is what I'm saying, like, this is where it comes down to men just seem to then try to continue work on it. And you look at our work lives, picking up that one extra job or, going over and above. I'm all for doing a great job. I'm all for, because the reputation and the name, I get it. But I think you got to sit down and work out, okay, well, what's actually am I getting the best out of what I can control here? Because if it's not there and the productivity isn't there within your workplace, don't put your time and energy in it, because that's where the misbalance comes in. You're then taking away the time and energy which you could be putting into your family. And I think one of the things too, right, is you go back to what's about the phone calls, right, in the trips to Brisbane. We've had an introduction over this last 20 odd years with mobile phones that has just gone gangbusters. All of a sudden we are contactable and reachable. Doesn't matter where we are on the
24/7, 365.
Now that didn't exist prior, right? but now it does exist. We've all got a phone. It's in our pocket, and we're available wherever we've got our phone, right? So it's one thing to say, oh, when I come home at night time, I turn the phone off and I disconnect. I think the dangers in that is thinking that a disconnect is an automatic connect. Because just because you disconnect from the world doesn't mean you are connecting with your family.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it is a two-edged sword, because we think, oh, good, I've turned my phone off. I've put in because I've started to do this a lot lately, because Lisa and I have actually noticed that we'll be sitting down watching a TV show together, but we'll look at each other and we'll both be flicking on our phones, right? So we go, no, this is, you should put your phone down. What do you mean I should you should put your phone down? We're both, yeah, but you don't talk to me. Yeah, well, you don't talk because you're on your phone. Yeah, but because we've both realised that we've both done it because we think the other person's thinking that. So we go, hang on a minute, how about we just both put our phones in the cupboard, put them on charge, do whatever. Let's just both put the phones there. But the dangers in that is to think that automatically gives a reconnect. It doesn't.
Right. So on that note, I've noticed that I've got home last Friday, so I've been home just a week today, right? And the kids every night have said, let's watch a family movie. So a family movie is just 5 family members sitting on a couch watching a movie. But there's no intimate connection. There might be a couple of laughs, oh, that's funny, blah, blah, blah.
Is there though? Like, because I'll do that at home. Like, we'll watch The Rookie. Every night my kids want to sit down
That's
and watch
funny,
The Rookie.
man. That's what's going on in our joint at the
Yep.
moment. It's hilarious.
But every night we'll bundle on the couch and I'll have at least 2 of the girls laying on me, like bundled in. Is that,
So
that's a connection, right?
100% that's bonding. Without a doubt, mate, because they're sitting there with you and you give them a cuddle, right? And it's that time that they'll remember when they were sitting on Dad's lap or cuddling in Dad's arms. My kids are a bit older, so Monique's obviously, she's 16 in October. But I'll look across, because we had this conversation, like, Dad, I've said to him, how about I just still work on my laptop while you guys are watching Netflix? Because to me, we're not bonding. Like, bonding would be sitting down, having a family meal, but really connecting. Like, so how was your day? What were you excited about? What were you not so happy about? What did you achieve? What didn't you achieve? Blah, 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 blah. To actually get to know, even with your wife, man. So how has your week been? Like, you might sleep next to each other every night, eat, shower, whatever, but are you really connecting? Are you really, how are you going? How was your week? What did you achieve? So where I was going with the whole Netflix thing, the kids would say to me, you can't be on your laptop because you have to be sitting there. But then what you said, Wayne, I look across 5 minutes later and everyone's on their phones, texting mates or whatever. Are you watching this show? It's funny, blah, blah, blah. So where is the disconnect and where's the reconnect?
Have they learnt that from us though? Like,
I don't reckon.
I don't know if it's learned
not
behaviour.
entirely.
I'll tell you one thing that Lisa and I have started to do with that is, and this is going to sound so left field, but I'm telling you now it works, is turn them into nights and embrace them. And what I mean by that is this.
Yeah.
We have a group chat on Instagram called The Fam, which is just us, just Lisa and I and the 4 kids. It's called The Fam, right? So instead of looking around and being upset, oh, you're on your phone, put your phones down. You can't believe you're stuck in your phone. We have a night where we go, because we'll be around the dinner table, right? And we have a rule when it comes to food and phones. When you're having food, there's no phone, right? But we'll have nights where we're all on our phone, but we're all sending funny things into that message group whilst we're all there. And it's become a bonding time.
Yeah.
Because we're all laughing at the same, like we're sending messages in the same group chat and we're all laughing, but we are actually bonding.
But that's still connected because you're doing it together as a unit, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's where I think you need to be creative in those ways and connect using what the world sees as so bad, which we're also, these phones and stuff, but to use it as your benefit.
Yeah.
But going back to, let's try and stay on how we're doing with finding a balance for us men, right? Because again, we're all out there striving to make money. We're doing it for the reason to get time. At the end of the day, it's time that we're all after because it's quality time with our family. We're wanting time because, like they say, money, you can't buy time, but the more money you have gives you flexibility, it gives you options. But at the end of the day, when we do get to the end of our working lives, the one thing we do look back to more than anything is our family. And like I've said to you guys before, I've had this conversation with many older people in the past. If you could go back in time to my age, what would you do differently? Mate, I would focus on putting my time with the family. So we're all striving for it as men. So if time is the key, how do we become more productive in our day-to-day to free up our time?
By being disciplined and like what Jamie and I touched base on before, be very strategic with the hours that you are spending on things. And the things that you really suck at, get someone else to do that part. Like we were talking about VAs before, right? Mate, when it comes to marketing, I know marketing is paramount in any business. I wouldn't have a freaking clue how to operate. I've still never posted on Facebook to this day. Wouldn't know how to. And I've been fair income. Christine does it or the staff do it. That's not my strong suit, so I don't do it. My strong suit is on working with clients on strategy and what machines they're going to need coming in, what time they're turning them off in 2 years' time, and how we're going to go through that. And then I put the plan together and the team handle that bit. Like, you've got to focus those hours on your strength is what I'm saying.
Look, I think we like to have the win, right? And it's so easy to have a win at work. So we tend to chase the wins. And then what you'll find is we've created a habit and we'll just habitually go back to that thing. So I suppose, how do you stop and create a win with the family or with yourself? What do we need to do to get that win?
That's a really good thought, actually, because when you think about it like that,
it's that dopamine hit.
We're I'm not saying this, and I've got to be careful how I say this because we've all got partners and wives and stuff.
Say it, do you? Go.
But the thing is, like, are you treated different at work?
Of course you are.
Well, this is my point, like, because Mikey just brought this up, right? If you're treated differently at work, I'm guessing, I'm going to say it, you're treated better at work?
Well, because you're the
just
boss,
watched
mate.
something on this, mate. I just watched something on this today, hey, about how as men, we get more respect in the workplace and we thrive, we flourish getting that respect. Then when you go home and you maybe don't get the same level of respect, you tend to shrink back a little bit.
Yeah. So do you think men are desiring to be at work more? Do you think deep down we like being there?
I'm going to say we probably don't know any better. It's what we do. I think I certainly left school at 16, well, not even 15 and a half, went straight to job and just kept working. My brain doesn't know any different. And when you spoke about those three balls, and I'm going, the work one being the only one that bounces, I think that's probably the only one I've never dropped.
Yeah, wow.
Which is scary, hey, because you just create these habits and you don't know why, you just do. And it's so difficult to break that.
Could that lead in, though, on the regret? Because as you said, as people get older, they were like, I wish I connected or spent more time with my family.
And that's everyone's regret.
So
If that's every single person's regret.
So is that why? Because we're getting more. So they're like, I wish I didn't sort of like go into how great I felt at work, and I wish I made it better so I felt better at home.
So is it the guy that spent his whole life on the dole with his family? Is he the one with no regrets?
Yeah.
Oh no, regrets.
Regrets.
Rab C. Nesbitt.
Yeah. Look,
That's a good thought.
I think no matter what you're doing, you're running a business. So whether you have an ABN or whether you have a PTYLT or whether you're an employee or whether you're a casual or whether you're on the dole, you still have the business of life to run, and it's your life. Yeah. So when you look at business, one of the first things that you do is get a break-even point, isn't it?
Yep.
What do I need for me to be able to survive?
Turn the lights on. Yep.
Yeah, and keep the business running. Yeah. Then after that break-even point, anything after that, your assets, which is employees, people you know, et cetera, time and income, how can I utilize those assets to make that business as successful as it possibly can be? You know? And if we took that mindset into, because for me, it's not time with the family, it's experiences with the family. It's not time with my mates, it's experiences that I remember with my mates, you know? It's not time in the business, it's achievements in the business that really make me feel like I'm being successful. So I think that if we could have that concept of I'm in charge of my life. This is my business. What am I doing with my assets that could actually help that, a lot more?
It can be a daunting thing, though, hey, to have to assess that and go, for the guy who spent all of his life just focusing on work and providing, to then turn around and go, right, okay, now we're going to focus on family or yourself. And we've had a podcast on putting yourself first. And Wayne and I both didn't fare too well on that challenge, did we?
Because it's unnatural, right?
And that's right. And it's habits, and it's what we know. But what's the first step to changing that? For the guy that's listening and going, all right, I've spent all my time working. I recognise I've got a wife or a kids that maybe I need a better relationship with or something different. What do I do? At the end of this podcast, what do I do to change that course? Because it's just a small little step that in 10 years' time will have such a vast change that you'll be able to look back on. What's the first step?
I think the very first step is to set out a clear goal with your partner as to what it is that you're wanting to achieve. What's the achievement? What's the goal that you're actually striving for? Because going back to what I said before, like I think we go to work to earn the money to give them what we think it is that they want. But if we ever actually sat down and worked out what it is that they want, we argue about but I want the new car. Oh, well, I wanted the new house. Well, but we're giving what we think, right? I remember going back a few years ago, I was talking to a mate of mine who they were renting a place, and he said that he was learning about property investing, and he pulled his wife aside and said, hey, I think I'm going to go down this track of being a full-time investor. But to do it, it's going to take about 10 years to really see some fruition. But if you can give me the 10 years, we won't be needing to save for a deposit for a house. I'll be able to buy a house. Like, trust me on this, I think I've got this down pat. If you can just give me the 10 years, right? And talked about delayed gratification. She agreed, and he went far beyond, and now he's one of the great teachers in Australia about property investing, and he did exactly that. Now he's a multi-millionaire. I've read his books, love the guy, right? But so I think the first thing, it's an extremely practical thing. I do think you need to sit down and go, right, what is it that us as a family are striving for? Because to get what it is that we want does require money. To get that money is going to come down to me going out there and working to get it. So what are we aiming for to create a clear picture, to bring it to a reality, go, right, okay, if that's what we're going for, let's give it a time and let's do this. Because I think one of the challenges that have stepped in nowadays, and I think this could really throw the bit of the balance out within the family life, go back 40, 50 years, predominantly men were the breadwinner. It just was, right? Nowadays, because things are so expensive, you've got a mix now of husband and wife working. Do you think that throws and creates a bit more of a misbalance at home? Because the work family or the work-life balance now isn't us just as men trying to balance out our work life and then coming back to a home life. We're trying to balance out that we have a work life and our partners also now have a work life, and then we're trying to come back and combine it to make a life. Do you think it's added, or has it added a curveball, or has it added strength to trying to find a balance at home?
Curveball, man.
Yeah, massively.
You can probably go both. It depends on your mindset and the way you look at it, right?
Yeah, I suppose, look, everything can be used for good, right? Like Wayne with the devices. It's just how you attack it. It's having the time, though, to actually sit back and reflect and look at this thing. I think that's probably the big key. Is in life, we're just too busy about waking up and go. I wake up and I go.
Yep.
And that's it. I don't often sit back and actually plan. I'll do it at the weirdest of moments. Like we were in the painting the shed the other day, and I had one of those moments where I just spent a few minutes and planned a few bits out. But we don't, as men, do that enough. We don't sit down there and kind of survey the kingdom, as it were. This is what I've got. This is what I want to achieve. Where's my wife at with things? Where's my kids at with things? What do we want to do? Where's our short-term, medium-term and long-term goals? Where are we at? We just don't. I think a lot of guys don't. I'm sure some of you guys do. I don't think I'm one of them, and I think there's plenty of guys out there that are exactly the same.
Discover multi-award winning real estate with podcast sponsor One Life Property Group, based on the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, specialising in everything from high-end duplexes to multi-residential developments, ensuring the highest quality workmanship. Visit onelifepropertygroup.com.au today to achieve excellence in your next property development.
I think training people in different areas, I found that there's 3 things that they need for them to be successful. And it's the right mindset, it's the right work ethics or the motivation, and the right skill sets. So, and if they're not picking it up, it's because of one of those 3 areas. Yeah. So if you are improving and you're doing a better job, if you've worked in those areas that you might be lacking and you've actually become better, you're worth more. Yeah. And I think what happens is that we invest in everything that we should do. Yeah. Not in, as you said, is going to make the biggest difference, which it just keeps coming back to investing in yourself. I think if you're working a 9 to 5, and you've got a boss that is sitting there going, I'm going to get the most I can get out of this person with paying them the least I possibly can. I mean, who's been there before?
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Then,
Especially being self-employed.
then you then you
As an
need
apprentice, I had that because the apprentices are the cheapest ones, and they
Yeah.
milk you for all you're worth.
you need to invest in yourself so you can produce more and either go back to him and go, mate, I'm worth more than this.
Yeah.
Or you can find something else on the side that you could actually go do.
100%.
Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you have to do something different. And what you were saying before was focus on what you can control. Yeah. You're the only thing that you can control.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't even do that.
It's hard.
Sometimes you can't even do that. Little thoughts in your head, right?
Comes into mindset.
100%.
Yeah. So it's a really good point that actually taking time and stock of where is it that I can actually invest in to make myself better. It's short-term sacrifice for long-term gain.
Yep. There was a guy that we listened to, I can't remember his name now, African-American dude. He's a very churchy fella. God, I could see his face.
Not Les Brown.
It was Les Brown. And he said,
That was a good guess.
do what is easy, life will become hard. Do what is hard, and life will become easy. All he's getting at is do the hard yards today and live a very fruitful life as you get older. Otherwise, take easy street today and come the time of retirement, there is no retirement because you haven't got money to retire.
Do you think that's what throws the misbalance though to begin with? Because men's brains are wired to go, okay, the wife's at home, look, these kids are going to go out and going to give it 20 strong, hard years, and they take all the overtime they can get. They take every job that comes along and boom, boom, boom. And they've provided. And then the kids are grown up, they have moved out, and he looks back and goes, okay, where are the kids gone? Well, they've moved out. And then it's too late because we've given it all and not found that balance.
I think to answer your question, mate, it comes back to the fact that none of us have been educated that. We don't get educated like that through school or from habitually, from my parents at least. I can say I was never educated on that. I've realised in my own life, like I said earlier in the podcast, if we sit back and understand actually how much money we do need, not to survive, but to have a good life every year, 10 years, 20 years, then you can start getting your goals out and go, like Chris and I went through the bankruptcy. We were living day to day, then week to week, then month to month. Then it got to a point I said to her, I want to have enough money in the bank to live for a year if I don't get one more sale. And then out to 10 years. And then, of course, your program changes when it comes to investment. So you want to build the business bigger. So you invest that money into something else and you go again. But anyway, to answer your question, I don't think we've been given the skill sets to do that or know how to do that. So it's understanding what it does cost to live for that year so you can have that time at home. So like you might be able to achieve something in 5 hours and you're like, oh, cool. Imagine if I put another 5 hours in and I could double that. That's the point where we go, hang on a sec. We've done the 5 hours. We've done the commitment or the 8 hours, whatever it is. I'm going to pull up stumps now and I'm shutting it all down until tomorrow. I think we just get that It's like the Jack Russell with a tennis ball, mate. Once he's got it, he just wants to keep going, right? So it's having that mental awareness and that a structured mental pattern interrupt or a checkmate to go, hang on, you've reached that now. It's time to go home. It's time to go and spend that time with your kids. But the time you're spending with your family has to be genuine. You have to want to be there. You've got to be present because they can pick up on it. Just like you can with your kids, where they can't be bothered because they'd rather be gaming with their mates on Xbox or whatever it is, right?
I know exactly what you're saying, mate, because I get this with Lisa quite a lot, and I'm sure you guys can all relate, is that you do your hours in the day at work, but surely you don't switch off at 3:30 or 5 o'clock.
Hell no.
My brain goes, like, because Mike said at the start, I make sure I turn my phone off at 10. At 10, like, really we should be turning the phone off at 5.
5 or 6,
whatever it is, right? But you're right, like 10. I'm still replying to emails at that time of night.
Yeah.
But take away the physical side of it, my brain is still in work mode. Like, it just is. And I get this response from Lisa all the time, and I wish I could change it because my facial expressions literally, like Lisa says it all the time, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I can visually...
Your body language gives you away.
That's what I'm after, body language. Yeah. My body language shows exactly where I'm at. And I don't like it when I hear her say it. I'm not saying she shouldn't say it. I'm glad she says it, but I don't like hearing it because she says, I can see in your face you're not here. And I'm like, I'm not thinking to myself, geez, don't say that. I'm thinking, well, where the hell are you, mate? Like, to myself. Yeah. Because my body language is saying I'm not here. Now, if she can see it, surely my kids can see it. But I know it because when she does say it, I stop for a moment and go,
she's right.
She is bang on because I'm thinking about something at work that's either an issue, problem, or a goal, or something, but my brain doesn't switch off. So in order to find the balance, I don't think it comes down to when you stop doing the physical activities during the day. It's how do you switch your brain off and become present when you're there, embracing the moment with your family.
I believe you can train yourself to do it. 100%. You can retrain your biology. You can mentally... I know I've done it in the past. One of my biggest breakthroughs was studying under Professor Stephen Peters, Chimp Paradox, and then there's some other bits and pieces that he's done. So he's the guy that gets a phone call. He's probably an unsung hero, really. Like everyone knows of Tony Robbins, right? But when it comes to athletes and bits and pieces, basketball players, or someone's about to go and run a race, whatever it might be, or have a boxing match. Like, and I'm talking world-class athletes here. He's renowned out of the UK, or globally, but he's comes from the UK. He gets the phone call 2 minutes before they go on stage, mate, when they're having a mental breakdown. Now, they've just trained 10 years of their life to get to this point. Whatever he says to them works, and off they go. Like everyone's got it within them, but it's allowing yourself that time to come back and go, reset, hang on, we've got this, let's do this. So you said before, how do we I suppose, fill our own cups up, basically, and then you turned around and said, well, you've got to be aligned with your wife and yourself. There's got to be a vision there for the greater common outcome. I agree with that to some degree, but in other points I disagree. Because if you've got two separate journeys, you still have to fill up your own cup. So
of course.
So you've got to stop and go, right, like I said about Christine, mate, she gives herself more than 5 seconds. If she's not mentally wired and prepared in the morning, that's it. That training session she might as well not go. And I'll ring her too. Like, I'll give her about an hour into it. I'll ring her, how's it going? Might as well not even be here. Not even going anywhere near my personal best, nothing. So I think in the morning you've just got to go, like people go, we're not motivated to do it. Everybody's motivated. Anyone with kids, anyone that's got a job, we're all motivated. We all drag our asses out of bed at that time, have a shower, have a cup of tea or a coffee, bit of toast, get in the car, go to work. We're motivated. We're not disciplined. It's a big freaking difference. If you get up in the morning and go, I'm not going to jump on my phone and stay in bed for the next half an hour going through bullshit posts of other people, I'm actually going to read this book for half an hour.
But are they motivated or are they obligated? Do they feel obligated? This is what I have to do rather than this is what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? Because...
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. You're talking about men going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Do they feel obligated? This is my obligation to do this. This is my role, rather than
I'd say yes.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah,
with you.
I'm actually thinking about that now. I would say yes. I think
Yeah.
it falls into obligation, but it's not an obligation that we argue against.
No, it's something that we do gladly. But that's a mind. So it's just that mindset shift of this is something I get to do, and this is an opportunity for me to give more. Not I'm back at work again. You know, I don't feel like going to work today.
It's a badge of honour, though, isn't it?
For some people, it is.
I think societally, it is. I look back and I go, you know, my father would always do whatever he could to work hard. I had a great dad. I had great memories, but it was always drilled into me that you got to work, son. You can't live off others. You've got to provide. And I think that's probably what most of us would have grown up with, whether it's friends or family telling us that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think we might take it too far.
So you look at your dad's age, right? So how old are you? You're 41.
41, yep.
41, right? So your dad's
Just turned 70.
Yeah, okay. So same as my dad, right? 70 years old. You go back to when our dads were dads to us as little kids, right? So let's go back to I'm 10 years old. Let's look at you're talking about, you know, wins and things like that again, right? When you take away, like we were talking about mobile phones before, you go back to my dad's era, there weren't any mobile phones, but there still was a misbalance between a work and life balance.
Yeah.
So it's not so much the introduction of distractions, but I do agree with what you're saying about these wins, because I think men love the sense of accomplishment. Hence why when you get the win at work, you know, you get the job done and you're getting it done in an hour and a half when you quote it to last for 2. Getting it done in an hour and a half, actually go, because you run the figures in your head and you go, I've made a bit more here. I think those accomplishments we love, right? So it's not so much the distractions that get introduced to us along the way, mobile phones and things like that. It's, I think you're right when you talk about wins. I think men are not addicted to work, but love the dopamine hit, which you mentioned before, Miguel, of that sense of accomplishment of what they do accomplish when they're at work.
Well, we've identified what a win is at work. We know what that is.
So do you think we lack the dopamine hit at home then?
Well, do we know what a win at home is?
What's a win at home?
How clean do you want me to keep this, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Good point.
When was the last time you won?
I had a win at home before I came to this podcast. So
That's why you're 3 minutes late.
that's why the pet gets
Yes.
Let's get on that path for a moment. Do you think a misbalance in men's lives when it comes to a work-life balance is because they're not getting wins at home?
Is it the fact that we're not getting wins at home, boys, or is it the fact that we don't give ourselves the ability to take the step back and breathe and look at what we have achieved at home?
Yeah. I think the wins are there. I think we just don't.
We-
We don't
we're
see the
not-
wins.
Correct. So what I mean by that is, like tonight, we're all going to get home late, right? Period. Because
I'll get home perfect time because
because you just got to walk up the hill. You
let's walk
chicken
up the
head.
hill.
Good move.
But we get home, and when we walk through that door, I can guarantee you 100%. When my light's coming up the driveway, my 9-year-old will run out to meet me. Now, because of this conversation we're having, that's a win, man.
That's it.
That's a massive win, right? And then when I walk inside, my 2 older ones and my wife will be sitting down watching some form of a comedy show laughing. That's another win because I've been able to provide for that. They would have had warm food. I've been able to provide for that.
Yep.
They're safe in a house. They're all wins. In my opinion, they are. But because we like you said, dude, we can turn the phone off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I guarantee you, even when we're going to sleep, somewhat even subconsciously, you're freaking dreaming about work. Right?
Yep.
So we don't allow ourselves that time to mentally, like the default mental pattern in front, like I spoke about earlier. We don't allow ourselves to go, like you said, you've switched off, but actually have you switched off and have you come into, just because you're home, are you actually present? We don't allow ourselves, okay, we're home now. Like you said just now, mate, Lisa, you're here, but you're not here, champ. Where are you? Where are your thought processes? So if we actually allow ourselves to come home, we are at home, and look around and smell the roses, there's wins everywhere.
I think you've brought up a great point. I think if you did stop for a minute as men and looked around at the wins that you have, do you think you'd begin to work less? Because at the end of the day, we're all working for that very accomplishment.
I don't know, mate. Some blokes like to have that time apart from their wives. Yeah.
I'm not talking about
Some wives like that time apart from their husbands.
but in order to find the balance, do you think if we stopped for a moment and looked at what we did have instead of what we didn't, you looked at what we did have, do you think there would be an automatic rebalancing?
Mate,
Can I
that was a
ask-
light bulb moment for me. Like I was just like, that is so true when you come home, because I don't appreciate that sort of stuff. And one of my values is appreciation. I want to feel appreciated, but it's so funny, isn't it, that we don't appreciate a lot of the stuff. So thanks, brother. Like that
No
was
worries.
yeah.
But we don't allow ourselves to see that. We've never been taught that from our fathers, to sit back and be appreciative of what we've done. I've had business coaches that go at the end of each week, you need to write to the last 2 hours of your day, go through the book and write it out properly. And I'm like, I'll get to it next week, right? Because that's for me. So stuff it. I won't do it. But at that point in time, that's when you can sit back, have your cigar, have your whiskey, and go, wow, I've done all that. I've achieved all that. And it's actually when you do that and you check in with yourself, it is really, really surprising how much you have achieved. Because we're still looking like I should have done better. I should have done more. Should have done this. Should have done that. In fact, you spend that time with yourself, on yourself, and go, well, actually, I'm actually kicking way above the goalpost to what I thought I had achieved this week. Let me ask you a question different to what you just asked us. So in a different concept. What is your idealistics of succession, of succeeding? Mine is, because we can work anywhere on a phone and a computer over the next couple of years, and it's probably getting to that point of time where the kids, the older two, may want to be with us, may not. But to cruise around in a Winnebago, or not even Winnebago, like a nice decked out caravan or something like that, around Australia. Because I can do that from anywhere with what I do. Phone, reception, boom. And just travelling. That's my deal of winning. Mm-hmm. Do you have to come back to a home every night?
I think that's where, when you look at what success is, I think where we fault ourselves or do ourselves short when it comes to success is we allow others to determine if we're successful or not.
Correct.
Because you look at somebody who's super rich. Wow, look at that guy, man. He is so successful. What if he's going home alone?
But how miserable is he?
Yeah, what if he's going home to an argumentative home life? Is he really happy? Is he successful?
Yeah.
You ask the guy that's sleeping on the sand under a little tent on the beach at, Mooloolaba somewhere. You would look at him and go, poor bloke, he's probably, lost everything he had. But he wakes up with this big smile on his face. So I think success comes down to you being able to determine within yourself, are you successful or not?
Yeah.
So is it not just gratitude? That's just gratitude, isn't it? Being grateful for what you got.
You think gratitude ties into success? I
Well,
think
as to how you,
right.
if only you can measure your own success. You could be the richest guy in the world and not be happy. You're not thankful for what you've got. You're not grateful for it. Whereas if the guy, if he's sleeping on the sand and he wakes up with a smile, he's grateful.
Okay, so then if you're successful is determined on the amount of gratitude, and we're all working as men to give our families what we deem as success, wealth or riches or time or whatever it is. If we can be grateful, or if our families can be grateful, we've actually then given what it is, the very thing that we've actually been trying to work for. So maybe the misbalance isn't coming, trying to word this correctly, not so much the misbalance, maybe the balance needs to come from gratitude. Because
so again,
the more
it's
grateful
looking into
you
ourselves.
Yeah. But even your families, if your family can get their heads around gratitude, then the more happy they are, the more that successful they realise they are, which is the very thing we're all going to work for to give them. So maybe the work-life balance is perfected within a family home by focusing on gratitude. Did we just find the answer to work-life balance here?
So,
I thought that was the meaning of life.
Get back to
Just gave you all the meaning of life, just said.
So on that note, we haven't done this as a family for a long time, but every Sunday we used to sit down and have a family meeting. And at the start of it, it was protracted, procrastinated, and the kids freaking hated it. And I thought I was doing the family a massive favour, right? There's all these new things I was learning about emotional intelligence and blah, blah, blah. And it was driving them nuts, man. I look back at it now and I'm like, if I was sitting across from me, I would have shot myself in the face. Fair dinkum. It was like, mate, get the fuck out of here. Because it was taxing, it was draining, right? But of more recent times, like being on the coast, and as I say, we haven't done it for a long time, but it was actually interesting just to listen to my sons, my daughter, my wife. Something that was so minor, like they'd walk through and so I've done this today. Yeah, cool, man, good on you. You know, on the phone, computer, whatever.
Yeah.
But to them, it was their biggest achievement for the entire week. So actually having that time to do that download on a Sunday, what did you achieve? What weren't you happy with? What could you have done better? What are you empathetic towards? What gratitude have you got? It's also teaching them to allow themselves to have that space to think about what they were happy about and what they could have done better. So hopefully when they become parents, they can create that space for their kids. It's more states of awareness, right? That emotional intelligence piece.
Absolutely. I think that comes down to with the questions you ask, right? You'll talk about, you know, the Sunday nights you have and you download and you talk with your family. I think when you can become creative with your questions, right? Because I've learned this with, and Mike and I were talking about this yesterday about that book you read, Atomic Habits.
Yep.
About how we just come accustomed to, we create habits on responding to certain things just because we've just built this, you know, response or like from triggers. Something will trigger us or respond a certain way because we've created a habit in it, not even really taking into account what was even really said, right? And what I mean by that is you ask a man, like you bump into a mate, hey mate, how you doing? Yeah, good mate, good. We instantly respond with, yeah, good, without even really thinking of the question.
Yeah, life's really fucked at the moment.
It's triggered. No, because it's triggered a habit that we've created to respond that way, right? And I found this with men especially, right? If you give a man the option, you give a man an option to give you a one-word answer, he's going to give you a one-word answer.
Yep.
Hey, mate, how you doing? Good. You? Good. But I do this with my kids, especially when my youngest now comes home from school, asking questions that can't get a one-word answer.
Yep.
So when it comes to win, it's funny that we said win before because win's one of the questions I just asked him just this week. Hey, mate, tell me about a win that you had today. And it makes him stop because he'll come in with his bag. Hi, Dad, give me a hug. Yeah, good. How was school? Yeah, good. And keeps walking up the stairs to put his bag in. So when I ask him the different questions now, hey, mate, tell me about a win today. I don't know. And it's now making him rethink the
His day. Yeah, yeah.
But in order to do that, going back to what we were just saying before about creating a gratitude, when you can stop for a moment and think about the wins that you've had, you become grateful for the wins that you have. In turn, becoming grateful for the wins that you've had, realizing then that you've then had success. I think that's the key.
But Wayno, you just nailed it too, mate. You realised to get a better answer out of your young fella, you've had to come up with better questions. So you've been emotionally aware, and you set that time aside, going, for me to have this better conversation, I've got to prime it.
Yep. Which I think comes down to now us as men asking ourselves creative questions to start getting the juices flowing on what we're grateful for. Because I guarantee now that I'm just thinking this out loud, the more you realise on the things that you're grateful for, the more you realise how successful you really are. And I think that would then create that balance because you'd realise that all the things that you're trying to work for, you actually already have. So I think that would draw back and realising that, going back to what we said at the start, you know, you're working for what, you know, is productive. You've actually been productive because you have what it is that you're working for. It's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
But us getting to that answer required us to talk it out.
Yep.
And this is why it's important to get around different people who actually, like you said, with the habits book, like that brings us back to where you were saying, well, how do you switch on to spending time with that family mode? But professional sports people, they go through a routine before they go do their thing. You know what I mean? They might train for 4 years for the Olympics, but the other part of it is actually training what they do just before they get in the pool, because they might have the music on and then they set up in a certain way and then they do that. Because what happens is that as soon as they click into that go sort of thing. Once they're ready to go,
It's game time.
it flicks their mind onto, okay, it's game time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do exactly the same thing with habits when we get home. So it might be as simple as, the old saying is that, I put my problems in my coat and I hang the coat up at the door and I'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just having that sort of where you might just go, okay, cool, I'm home now and I'm going to make myself a tea. And that might be the trigger for you to go, okay, now it's time for me to go see the kids and ask them those open-ended questions and actually make that effort to be able to do that. We can train ourselves to do that type of stuff.
Yep.
And
It's
to
called
do
habit
that-
stacking.
Yeah.
Is what
There
it
you
is,
go.
yeah. So you pair something that you like to do with something that you need to do. So I need to I want to watch TV. Before I do it, I'm gonna do a 2-minute walk around the block, or I'm gonna do 10 sit-ups, 20 burpees, whatever it is. I'll do something that I don't like, and that will give me the reward, or I'll do something I enjoy, but then I have to back it up with this. But okay, so we've figured out what it is, right? Now, for the guy who's going, I've dropped the family ball or I've dropped myself ball, what do you do to fix it? When is it too late?
I don't think it's
And-
ever too late.
Yeah, okay.
And I think you start immediately. The
Yeah.
biggest thing, so mate, how many freaking times and how many people have you sat with on New Year's Eve and they've got a New Year's resolution? Statistics proven 98% of people that have made a New Year's resolution have quit by day 10. The last 2%, another 98% of them have quit by day 28. You know what they say?
98% something.
No. What they then say is, we'll wait for next year's New Year's resolution.
Instead of going
Why?
tomorrow.
Start tomorrow, man. Okay, you stuffed up. Yep, you shouldn't have had that burger. You shouldn't have had that chocolate. You shouldn't have had that beer or whatever. Start now. Start tomorrow. The biggest thing is not forcing it on your kids or not forcing it on your wife. Because now you've gone far out. I've just had an epiphany and I've only got 5 years left to go or 10 years left to go. So you're going to try and jam-pack every second, every minute of every freaking day to that change now. It's just going to overwhelm them and they're going to push you further away.
Yep.
You've got to let them come back to you.
Wayne, question for you, mate. If that guy you were talking about earlier on is listening, what would you say to him now?
Which guy? Sorry,
The guy that you were talking to on the job who lost everything.
if I was talking to him now, what would I say?
Just after we've had this conversation, what would you say to him now?
Wow, I don't know what I wouldn't condone him staying on the dole or going on the dole, but I would definitely, I guess after having this discussion, I would definitely. Well, he can't rebuild anything that he's lost in regards to his wife and things like that. Well, he can. He's 60-something years old. I'm not saying it's impossible, but
Mate, look at the founder
Being grateful.
of McDonald's at the age of 52.
oh, that's what I'm saying. I'm not writing him off and saying. I'm just saying, like, physically, he's not.
It's not
physically
about money,
able.
though, is it?
No, I know.
If it's not about money, it doesn't
cheap.
matter. He could build 10 businesses now. Who cares? What's the win? Like,
Dude, that's
he's
what I'm saying.
got a son that is stuck by him
100%.
through all of that.
Yep.
That's where I was going to go with it. I'm thinking if you can stop taking everything we've just spoken about just now, and you can begin to realize that the reason we go to work is because we want to provide for our families. Now, in that provision, yes, we're talking money, but we're also talking time. We're also talking a lot of things like providing us to our family. We go to work to come back to be the provider. And what we're wanting for them, once they're provided for, is to be happy. So when you can stop and focus on the things that you have and realize that you can or you are actually happy, you begin to realize that the very thing we're going to work for, chances are we have already provided. If they can just get gratitude. So then it makes you realize that all the things that we're working for as men, chances are our families have. Because we're trying to tie it up with we're thinking providing means money, where really it's beyond money. It's a combination of, like I said, money, time. So I think when you stop and you can calculate just simply by looking around at what you have, you've actually provided for your family. So I think that needs to relieve a lot of men of the burden of the stress that we carry when we go out there and got to do this and got to do this. Why? Oh, provide for your family. Stop for a moment, have a little sense of gratitude and look what it is that you have. You'll realize that that is in essence what you're trying to provide, and chances are you have.
Well,
So maybe that will relieve a lot of men.
Yeah, well, let's have a think, though, about, that old concept of what's going to be said at your eulogy. They're probably not going to be talking about how much money you had. You know what I mean? And even that guy, could even be the last 20 years of his life were the best 20 years of his life. And he took all those lessons that he had in his life, and he was down and out. And what he's done in the last 20 years is rebuilt himself, and he's done this and he's done that. And do you know what I mean? It's never too late. It's never too late for you to change the direction. Everyone loves a comeback story.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
If you look at Christmas, for example, if you were to ask my 4 kids what they got for Christmas last year, they would have to stop and try and think very hard. And I don't think anyone would actually remember. 8 months ago, right, what they got. If you ask them what we did, they'd say we went to Japan because we went to Japan for Christmas, right? Now, what's the difference between those two things? One question was, what did they receive in a tangible, what can you hold in your hand? Was it a shirt? Was it
It's a material
Xbox?
item.
That kind of thing, right? Compared to the second question of where did we go? So I'm asking what they received in their hand or what memory did they receive? They will remember the memory, right? What's the memory? The memory is a time currency. It's you with them have created a memory and they remember that, compared to me going out and working for money to buy them a shirt that they don't remember. So when you look at time being the ultimate currency, I think the first thing you can do to increase and to bring a positive impact to the work-life balance is increase the time. I think that's the first thing you can do is increase the time, because that's the memory. They don't remember what they got last year, but they remember where. And it was because time was involved, because we were there.
If I can add to what you said then, mate, like what you'd say to old mate, obviously I don't know the gentleman, but the green lights that I can see straight away, he's still got his son with him. He knows what he did do wrong. And if he's being authentic with himself and humble with himself, not bashed himself up, but he can actually, because I guarantee it's a two-way street. So there's things that his wife would have done wrong. Maybe she never supported him in the business, whatever it may be, right? I don't know the people from Bar of Soap. By just accepting what he has done, he can now change that and move forward and live the next 30, 40 years of his life extremely happy, not to repeat history. He can also give that whole toolbox of gifts to his son and say, this is where I stuffed up, man. Now, as grandfather of your children, I'm going to mentor you and make sure you don't repeat history. So there's so much there to be thankful for. But when we're down and out in that mindset, it's so freaking hard to find it. Like you're licking your wounds, right? And it can be very, very daunting and very, very hard. Yeah, to look for the green wins, I suppose, or the green lights.
Yeah. And touching on the time, I think experiences is the key. I love going out and doing something with people because when you go camping or when you go do something else and then there's a challenge that happens, you find out who they are. Do you know?
Can they rise to the occasion?
Yeah. But that makes you go, wow. So, and it's more important for me to find out who people are rather than what they have.
Yeah.
So I think definitely with family it's important, but it's even with mates. That's important too. Who are you surrounding yourself with as well? Because that's going to give you more of a support network. That's going to open up other opportunities or other mindsets or other skill sets that can actually help you give more and become more successful in the future as well. So go search for those experiences. Don't just expect for you to build the bond. Actually go do something together and have that experience together. Yeah. The best stories you have as mates is remember that time we went down the beach and then we broke down and this happened.
Do you remember what you were wearing though?
No.
That's exactly the point.
It's
You
because
remember the experience though.
Yeah.
It's because he was wearing nothing.
Yeah, we both thought it.
At the end of the day though, what we've realised is that they remember the memories, they remember the experiences more so than the tangible gifts. So if we can, as men, realise in trying to find this work-life balance, It's about balancing it when it comes to time and not the amount of hours that you're working to try and get the amount of overtime, to try and get the pay packet so much bigger. Because at the end of the day, those things aren't memorable. They might remember the Xbox, maybe. You
And
know?
those tools are exactly what you're handing to your kids. As in,
Yeah.
you work for 40 years of your life. You work for 50 years of your life. You do the overtime. You don't be present. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we don't show them that now, it's going to continue. It's going to continually be generational and habitual.
Yeah. And you're going to stuff up. Like, don't beat yourself up
Yeah.
if you haven't got it right, because no one really gets it right.
Yeah.
But I think going back to that, prioritizing, like, if we can look at it logically rather than emotionally, like that,
Which is hard.
yeah, I think that is a big key, because if we are going, okay, what can we do to make it better? What can I do to spend more time with my family? What can I do to build that bond? You're looking for the solutions rather than going, oh, I don't feel connected, so I'll just go to work longer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll just give them money because that's all they care about. It's not what they care about,
That's exactly right.
But a lot of the time we don't wake up from that fog or that you feeling sorry for yourself until it's too late. So that's why that's why I keep harping on just work on yourself, because you always wish you did it earlier. You always wish you learnt that earlier. You wish you read that book earlier. You met that person earlier. Like, you wish it was earlier, but you can't change the past. But we can start today. Don't beat yourself up on what you've done wrong.
Just start.
Just do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think with that too, mate, if I can add to that, it is be humbled by your family and have that open conversation. Yes, that did happen. That's not what a man is. That's not what should have occurred. That's not what you need to accept in life. Like, you've got to be humbled about that. You've got to be open. If you want your kids to be better than you, and you're going to shut down every chance they get to try and talk to you about something that's happened in the past, you're not creating any good habits there. You've got to be open to it, and you've got to cop it fair on the chin.
Yeah. And you can use it as like, you can make excuses, or you can use it as a reason for change.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? People stuff up, and I just had that recently. Someone like that I love stuffed up, and I'm like, mate, you might have done that one time out of 1,000 times. That's not who you are. Do you know what I mean? It's there in you, but it's not actually who you are. It's like me. Like, sometimes I drink too much. I know it. Like, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I stuff up, and I have stuffed up in the past, but it's not actually who I am. It's there, but it's something I can, each time that happens, you can go, all right, I can learn from that, and I can actually not do that, or put habits in place where I go, okay, that's not going to happen again. So
It's funny you say that, motivate habits and getting things in place. I had a friend of mine, his ex-girlfriend actually, in Geraldton, and she was going to quit smoking. So instead of smoking, I can't remember I think she was smoking PJs at the time, but there was like a packet of 30, whatever she was smoking, you get them in 50s, 30s and 15s, I think, or 20s, 30s and 50s. So instead of getting a carton, like I said, just get a carton of smokes, it's going to be cheaper, blah, blah, blah. She goes, no, I'll just buy a packet of 20 because then there's not so many there, so I won't smoke as much. I said, you're full of shit, because when that packet's finished, you're going to go and buy another one. Which is true, right? So, like, you unless you're consciously aware and you want to make that change, you're not going to change. And then to have people, one thing that we do in our place, and mate, this is a really good checkpoint for me. Like, it's a full uppercut. It's the same respect with the kids as what they've got with us. Clearly, mum and dad, we're the matriarch and patriarch, so our finals, our say is final. But it's the respect's got to be equally met. It's the days of you should be seen and not heard. Like, they're gone years ago, freaking years ago. Like, so.
Is that the wife or the kids?
No, definitely the wife. Definitely the wife.
Sorry, just checking.
No, we have accountability. So, I might walk in and chuck a bag down at the front door or something, right? Like the Yeti cooler bag. Been out in the ute for a couple of days, come home, just chuck it down there. say good day to everyone, and the little fellow will go, "Hey, Dad, come over here, mate. Can you tell me what's wrong with this picture?" Like word for word. Right? This is Navarro. And I'm like, damn. I'm thinking in my head, you little beep, 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 beep. I'm like, yeah, thanks, dude. Cheers, knuckles. Now, to be able to stop there and go, don't be a smart ass, get to your room. I've just got home. Make up all the bullshit. I do it with him every day when he comes home from school, just to get him into the habit. So for him to hold me accountable, I think that's a healthy conversation, hey. But it is a checkmate. And when you're changing that biology in the head, like it is a good learning curve. It's like, ooh, hang on, you have to pull those reins in there and put the handbrake on what was about to come out of your mouth. Thanks, man. I'll go and clean that up now.
But sometimes you do need someone to say it. Like, so one of Anna's things is that she likes me opening up the door. So, and I'm like, okay, if that's going to make you happy, I'm going to do it.
As in to let her in?
Yeah, in the car, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. So, like, that's so easy to do. But it is also so easy
to forget.
You know? So, like, but she's worried about telling me that I forgot. And I'm like, no, it's totally fine. I want you to remind me, like, if I'm not walking towards your side of the just say, hey, babe, yeah. Or just stop walking.
Because then I can remind you when you forgot something.
Oh, maybe there's a little bit of a passive aggressive. No. But, you know, I think it's a really good point where you're like, okay, you need people to actually tell you, you know, and that's another part of the equation, isn't it? Is that if your wife's not feeling something or if your kids aren't feeling something, how much easier would it be for us to go, oh, I didn't even realise. So that mate, communication.
I can honestly sit here and say 90% of the time that's what it is. So like, what's today? So it was Wednesday. The two older fellas got off the school bus, come in the front door, and the older bloke goes, "Hey Dad, how was your day?" And I said, "It was a challenging day, mate." What he heard was, "It was fine," aggressively, right? So I'm so grateful that my daughter was in the they're like best of mates. So if one of them says, "No, you're actually wrong," then the other one will listen. But if I say it, it's a challenge, it's a fight. Anyway, so he's then on the back foot with me, and I'm like, "But you have a bad day? Something happened? Like you picked on the bus? Like did you get in a fight?" He's like, "Nah, I'm fine. I'm like, "The hell's going on here?"
He just did it back to you, didn't he?
I said,
he just did it straight back.
But I never said I'm fine. He heard I'm fine. I actually physically said I've had a challenging day. And my daughter said, "Dad never said he's fine." Aggressively, he said, "I've had a challenging day."
But you didn't say you weren't fine. You just said you had a challenging day. So I would have, he's a bloke, he's all right.
Okay. But that's not where I was going. That's not where I was going with that. So
Sorry.
he's because we're talking about interpretation, right? And where your mindset's at the time. So he's gone, yeah, Dad said he's fine. And I said, "I've had a challenging day." And I said, "Mate, did you think that there was something against you?" And he said, "Yeah, I did, because you said I'm fine." But I never said I'm fine, dude. So so then the conversation started, "What's going on in your day? How are you going?" Because you've done nothing wrong to me because you haven't been here all day. I just said some challenging clients, that's all.
So are we talking about the female version of I'm okay? It's okay.
Or nothing. Or nothing. Like,
that's where you want to take that though and go, yeah, okay, bye.
What does my head in?
It was not okay.
Exactly that. What does my head in, man, is when you do say to them, what's wrong? Nothing. Or it doesn't matter. Because I boiled inside, I'm like, stay calm, Miguel, stay calm. And you ask him from this avenue, this angle, that angle, still can't break the record. I'm like, well, stuff it, it's fine then. So then I say to him, well, then you have no right to come in this house and expect everyone to be walking on eggshells. I've tried to work with you. I've tried to talk with you. If everything's fine, get over it.
I'm sure that goes down a treat.
Not really. Not really.
Well, fellas, let's wrap it up there. What I have done though is because I got a lot out of this. Again, more for me. Like I said, a lot of the time I do these podcasts, and I myself get so much out of it because none of us have come here with the answers. We've come here to expose, the topic and break it down as much as we can and learn from each other. And I've learned so much from literally what we said. I've just taken some notes here as we close off. But the top 3 things I got out of what it takes as a man to find the perfect work-life balance. The first one was to be specific with your partner as to what it is exactly that you are aiming for. Number 2, do more things that create memories, which is what Jamie was just saying in there. And then carrying on from what Mike was saying, but increasing your gratitude, which will show where you're already successful, and you'll realise that you've probably already achieved what it is you've been aiming for this whole time, which is providing them happiness. And I don't know if you guys can add anything to that as we close, but I've kind of wrapped it up into those 3 things as to what I got out of it.
I'd have to agree, mate. One thing I do like about these podcasts, just for all the listeners out there, none of this is scripted. Look,
Absolutely.
2 or 3 days before we record, you just send out, this is the theme. That's it. And so we all knew the theme was work-life balance. And then as we start going, we start taking notes, and it just comes out like, so it's everything, it's all organic. It's all real. You know what I mean?
Well, this is what every AJ's meeting is, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Around
100%.
wherever they are, there's just a bunch of guys who are going to be nutting out the same topic and coming to maybe a completely different conclusion. But
Should we vote Wayne for Prime Minister, boys?
Don't do that. No, do it. I'm running for president.
Mate, Trumpy, you're up against Trumpy.
I'd still vote Trump.
I've got 2 ears.
I love it.
Let's close it there, lads. Really appreciate your input.
Welcome to the Men's
guys, thanks for
Collective
joining us
podcast.
on the
In
podcast
this
today.
space, we keep the
We really, really
conversations
appreciate
real,
you, being a part of it,
inspiring,
like we say
and
every
challenging
single
you
week. More
to
than
become the
anything,
man
more
you are
important, get
destined to
along
be.
your
Your
average
family
Joes
needs
meet
you
up
to be
this
better.
week. Jump on the
Your
website,
friends
find out
need you
what
to be
the
better.
meetups are. We'd love
We
to have you,
need
come
you
and
to be
be a
better.
part of it.
We
Meet
are
the
your
guys.
hosts, the
So
Average
find out what they are.
Joes.
It'd be great to have you there. Jump online, give us a review, subscribe. Reviews just do an amazing thing for us. So the more you give us positive reviews, the more it bumps it up and it gets our message out there, which is exactly what we're trying to do. Jump on the website, get some merch, get a shirt, get a hat, get whatever you want. Hit us up. But enjoy your week. Gentlemen, thanks once again.
Thanks for having us on.
That's
Have a good
having
week,
a good
boys.
weekend.
See you, boys.
Cheers.